10 animes where NC is an overpowered idiot. Number 10. Ryusha Yamimasu from Unquitting Heroing. Yusha is the god of idiots, absurdly strong, but his brain power doesn't match his brawn. He's clueless about basic social cues and often misinterprets situations, leading to awkward and sometimes disastrous misunderstandings. Despite his immense power, he's constantly baffled by simple concepts, making him an overpowered hero who is in and out of his depth in normal life. Number 9. Agent 6 from Combatants will be dispatched. Agent 6 is a strong and capable combatant, working for an evil organization bent on world domination. He's sent to another world to help with this invasion, but his lack of common sense often leads to more trouble than success. Instead of taking a strategic approach to conquer the world, he's more interested in achieving his goals through brute force and shortcuts, like stealing advanced technology to gain an edge. His simplistic view of the world and tendency to act first and think later result in chaotic and funny outcomes, but his fans usually backfire spectacularly. Number 8. Genzo Shibata from Kemono Michi. Genzo is a professional wrestler who's unexpectedly summoned to a fantasy world to defeat monsters. However, instead of fulfilling his role as a hero, his deep love for animals leads him to open a pet shop where he tries to tame the very monsters he's supposed to slay. His single-minded obsession with animals blinds him to the dangers around him, like trying to prevent ferocious creatures that others will flee from in terror. Genzo's simple mind and lack of awareness about his role as a hero leads to a series of ridiculous and comedic situations, turning his journey into one of constant misadventures. Number 7. Sid Karginov from the Eminence in Shadow. Sid is a powerful and skilled protagonist who dreams of becoming the ultimate shadow ruler without really understanding what that means. He spends his time pretending to be an ordinary student while secretly engaging in what he thinks are grand conspiracies. In reality, Sid's elaborate schemes are based entirely on his delusions, and the fact that his wild guesses often turn out to be true is purely accidental. His obliviousness to the actual reality around him, combined with his unwavering belief in his own imagined narrative, creates a hilarious contrast between his perceived and actual competence. Number 6. Wendelin von Benno. Wendelin, a former salaryman, is reincarnated as the 8th son of the poor noble family in the fantasy world. Despite his vast magical abilities, he's completely clueless about how to navigate the aristocratic world. Whilst trying to support his struggling family, Wendelin's lack of social understanding and common sense often lands him in awkward and bizarre situations. His attempts to use his newfound power to improve his family's fortunes are hindered by his inability to grasp the complexities of noble society, leading to a mix of comedy and unintentional chaos. Number 5. Seiya from The Cautious Hero. Seiya is summoned to save the world in peril, but his extreme caution borders on to paranoia. Although he's ridiculously overpowered, his obsession with being prepared for every possible scenario makes him blind to the obvious solutions. Instead of taking action, he'll spend an absurd amount of time training, stockpiling supplies, or attacking minor enemies with excessive force. This guy's an idiot. His companions are left bewildered by his excessive caution, which often leads to hilarious overreactions to relatively simple challenges.
Toss them in like he was taking out the trash! No thanks, I'm far too delicate for...
Number 4. Hajime Nagumo from Arifureta. Did I pronounce that right? Hajime starts as the weakest in his class, but after a near-death experience in a labyrinth, he becomes absurdly powerful. However, his newfound strength comes with direct and brutish approach to problem solving. Rather than strategizing, Hajime prefers to bulldoze through obstacles, often creating more enemies in the process. His single-minded focus on survival and getting stronger makes him oblivious to the broader consequences of his actions, leading to frequent clashes with others who can't understand his blunt, no-nonsense attitude.
ちゃんと抱きしめてやんなさいよ
Number 3. Akatsuki Osawa from Aesthetica of a Rogue Hero. Akatsuki is a powerhouse who has returned to the world after defeating the Dark Lord in another. Despite his strength, when it comes to anything other than fighting, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. His overconfidence and obliviousness often gets him in trouble, especially when he fails to understand the most basic of social interactions or the simplest of plans. His arrogance leads him to believe that he can solve any problem with brute force, often resulting in more trouble than success. Number 2. Aryuma Aikawa from Is This a Zombie? Aryuma is an ordinary high school student who gets killed by a serial killer and is resurrected as a zombie. Now possessing incredible abilities, Aryuma finds himself entangled in absurd situations, especially when he accidentally inherits magical girl powers and he has to fight monsters while wearing a frilly dress. Despite his power, Ayuma's decision-making is often laughably poor, leading him to rely more on brute force and sheer luck than any actual strategy, which usually results in comedic chaos. Number 1. Maple from Bofuri. Maple is a new player in a VR MMO game who decides to max out her defense stats to avoid getting hurt. This seemingly simple decision unintentionally makes her one of the most powerful players in the game, as she becomes nearly invincible. However, Maple is blissfully unaware of her impact in the game world and the unintentional havoc she wreaks. Her cluelessness and scatterbrained approach to the game led to a mix of admiration and confusion from other players, as Maple continued to stumble into victory after victory without fully understanding the consequences of her actions.